What is up with it, everybody? Live from the studios of WIUR Gales Radio from the Murphy Center at Iona University. Welcome to Woolley Mammoth Mondays, the primo spot for sports on this campus. I am your host, Cameron Woolley. I will be keeping you company through the 11 o'clock window. And in sports, really a couple things going on. We're going to lead here with the New York Football Giants. Crazy game yesterday in Dallas. Still losing, which sucks. But there was plenty to take from this. And this is I had a weird emotional reaction in this game, and I think a lot of other people had a weird reaction as well. Because after the game, I was livid. I was like, I don't care how many points they scored. I don't care. It doesn't matter. They lost. They lost in such a heartbreaking way. And I think that was a lot of just the in-the-moment feelings that we were getting from that team and how they played and the bad coverage. And we're going to get to the bad. But after having some time to sleep on it and think and deliberate really what went down and kind of zoom out, I'm not that mad about it. Actually, I'm not really mad at all. I woke up yesterday morning more mad because I thought we were going to get another lifeless, just butt kicking in Dallas, and we would have been having the same conversation. I'd be talking this whole time about Jackson Dart and whether he should come in and whether he should come in behind this offensive line, and we'd be having the same conversations we were having last week off of that lifeless performance in Washington. But they didn't do that. They showed life. They did what we wished for over the offseason. We wished for competitive games, and this is what yesterday was. It was competitive. It was wire to wire. And make no mistake, they should have won this. Dallas's defense, Matt Eberflus has no right being employed. No, neither defensive coordinator who was coaching in this game has any right having a job at any level of football after that game. They were dreadful. Any defensive coordinator who allows Wan'Dale Robinson to go for over 140 yards, it's baffling to me, and it's amazing and incredible how they even know how to hold a clipboard, let alone call a defense. So those are my thoughts on Matt Eberflus from this game. And I'm sure Dallas Cowboys fans feel the same. I'm sure you feel way more strongly about it, about Matt Eberflus. Good Lord, that guy's terrible. But again, from the Giant perspective, this is what we wish for. We wanted these big games. We wanted to move the ball. We wanted a more modern offense. We wanted things to be more exciting. And that's what we got. I'm going to break down the positives and negatives here. I'm going to start with the positives, which I have more listed, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the weight of them is more than the negatives. Because the biggest negative out of all of these is that they lost. Now, the positives here, I'm going to start with the biggest one. That's Marcus Mbow. James Hudson had the worst drive I maybe have ever seen out of a left tackle in a Giant uniform. And that is saying a lot. I have a PhD in bad offensive tackles on this team. They've been terrible. They've been nothing but terrible. I've lived through Eric Flowers. I've lived through Nate Solder. I've lived through all of the guys who've tried replacing Andrew Thomas. You want to throw in a couple more names? Let's throw in Chad Wheeler, Bobby Hart, Marshall Newhouse. I've seen it all. Believe me, I have seen it all. Hey, Josh Azudu, another one who was awful. Evan Neal, that one ring a bell? What James Hudson did on that first drive was worse than all of them. And then after the first drive, and Brian Dable, I can't give him credit for a lot in this game, but I'll give him credit for this. He pulled the plug on him immediately after that first drive. He didn't allow the process to play out. He looked at what he did on that drive, and he's like, yeah, We can't let you do that. That unsportsmanlike conduct on the Wan'Dale Robinson pass on the first drive cost them a touchdown because that was the difference between being set up first and goal at the 2, which, hey, given how the red zone offense is, that's not necessarily a given. But with the way Cam Scatterbo ran yesterday, I think it was a safe bet that if you just gave him the ball a couple times at the goal line, he would have punched it in. And in a game that was decided by so few, that 4-point swing would have won him the game. But anyways, enough about James Hudson. He's done. I don't think he's ever starting a game for this team again, nor should he. But Marcus Mbow came in and he almost alone stabilized that offensive line. When he stepped in at left tackle, and this was with no preparation on the first team offense. He did not start in practice. He didn't have any reps with anybody on this starting unit. He came in raw as a 5th round pick who, yeah, he played well in the preseason, but there's always a couple guys who don't amount to much who do that. But Marcus Mbow came in, and yes, it was against a bad pass rush that is reeling off the loss of the face of their franchise. I'm well aware. But to still come in and almost like that, Russ has time to throw. He has time to hit the deep ball, which was on fire that whole game. I think the stat it was on the deep ball for Russ, 7 for 11, 264 yards and 3 touchdowns, and that pick at the end, which was, make no mistake, a bad decision by Russ, but he's the last person who should be getting any blame for this. But with the insertion of Marcus Mbow, the offense looked like a modern offense. They looked like they could move the ball. They could push the ball downfield. They could get the ball into their playmakers' hands, which is all anyone wanted out of Russell Wilson this year, was just to show a little more life than what Daniel Jones showed us. And yes, I'm aware he's doing well in Indianapolis, but that's a scheme that fits him. There's not a lot of deep balls. Brian Dable stressed a lot about explosive plays and explosive offense. Daniel Jones wasn't giving them any of that. So, I mean, good for Daniel Jones. He's leading the Colts probably to the playoffs. Can't wait for that nightmare to eventually see itself out. But again, Marcus Mbow, he alone makes me feel so much better about the outlook of this team going forward, because not only does this make it so you don't have to rush Andrew Thomas back, and that injury, that's a problem. Andrew Thomas's lack of availability is a massive issue. And to me, it's impeding on his value as a player. But with Marcus Mbow, you give him time to get healthy and really ramp up and get up to speed, because we saw that this offense can do just fine with Marcus Mbow at left tackle. But then once Andrew Thomas does come back, you don't take him out of this lineup. You slide him over to right tackle. Maybe you move Illuminor to guard, move Van Routen to center, or move him to left guard. It depends what you do with John Runyon. But there's things that you can do. There's a path to make this offensive line functional. And this is an analogy I came up with yesterday. An offensive line, it's like, I'm going to use the Incredibles analogy here from The Boss. It's like a clock. You got to have all the gears turning at the same time, because if one gear doesn't turn, the whole thing just falls apart. And yesterday was good evidence of that. On the first drive, the offensive line looked awful because James Hudson was, I can't even come up with a word to describe him, how bad he was on that drive. And then Marcus Mbow comes in, stabilizes the whole thing. And I think over the next couple weeks, I'm looking forward to seeing more of him, because this team and this regime desperately needs a major draft win on an offensive lineman. And if a fifth round pick can turn into a starting tackle or guard for the next decade, that's about as big a win as you can come up with. That might be the best giant draft pick of the last decade if Marcus Mo ends up becoming a solid offensive lineman. Moving on, Malik Neighbors is showing he can be a top 5 receiver. There's no doubt about that. I mean, the plays that he made, both of his touchdown catches were ridiculous. On the first one where he was leaping back, he was on a flat angle midair and he reached behind his head to grab it. That is a stupid amount of athleticism to show as a receiver. And he did that in spades. And then he had the touchdown grab in the fourth quarter that should have won him the game. He was face masked on that play, which wasn't called, by the way. There was a total uncalled face mask, PI, whatever. The safety or the corner, whoever it was, had his hand in his face, like blinding him. Couldn't see the ball, but I guess he used the force, and a great throw here by Russell Wilson, who again was on fire the whole game. And Russ just dropped it right in the bucket. But Malik Neighbors, I mean, he's showing what he can do with competent quarterback play. And this is what anybody who watched the Giants last year knew what he was capable of. He's a freak. As of right now, he's leading the NFL in receiving yards. And yes, it's week 2. And if in one of those weeks you have 160 yards, yeah, chances are you're going to lead the NFL. But he's like, I am so excited. Just feed him the ball because he can put up the stupidest numbers. And he can be, like I said all offseason, he's a top 5 receiver. And if he keeps doing this, it's not even going to be a debate. Another guy, Cam Scattaboo. My God. Dude, he should be the RB1. And after last week, I was thinking, like, yeah, he didn't really run the ball that well, but he had that one play where it was the one Giants play that actually made me happy. It was the play where he caught that pass on the outside and then he ran over 2 defenders. They gave him the most touches out of any running back, and he averaged over 4 yards a carry on a team that can't run block for the life of them. Now, sure, half of that was on that one chunk play with Jackson Dart. And I think with the run game, you're going to see it get better once Dart comes in because Russ, yeah, he's athletic, but he's not, his mobility isn't the X factor or the extra layer to his game that it was in like 2013. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but every starting quarterback in the NFL can basically move now, except for save maybe Joe Flacco. It's like, yeah, Russ can move, but that's not his strength. Teams aren't game planning for Russell Wilson to be pulling it back on read options. Once Jackson Dart comes in, they can game plan for that because Dart, he's sneaky athletic. He can move. And for a quarterback, that does a lot because the linebacker's eyes, you got one eye on the running back and one eye on the quarterback. Those RPOs, it confuses them. And on the play where Dart was in, where Scattaboo ran for 20 yards, almost broke the play, which in real time, I thought he did. But on that one play where Scattaboo ran it, the linebackers were shading over toward Jackson Dart, which gave Scattaboo the running lane and gave the offensive line the leverage that they needed. And then next thing you know, big play down to the 1 yard line. Then one play later, Scattaboo punches it in. And dude, Cam Scattaboo, I think I'm more bullish on him than a lot of other people. I think Cam Scattaboo can not only be a solid running back, he can be a playmaker. He can be a difference guy on that team because he adds a layer of toughness. Like there's just something, I swear, it's like every time I see Cam Scattaboo run the football, like my testosterone levels double. because there's just something about a guy who can run straight down your throat and just run a couple guys over, break a few tackles. Just something that really just elevates the energy of an offense. And that's what Cam Scatterbo can bring. And I want to see him get a lot more touches. I want to see him become the outright RB1 because he's the only guy out of the backfield who I can trust to make any real plays. Sure, Tracy, I'll give him more time. I'll definitely give Tyrone Tracy a little more time, but I can't sit here and be like, oh, the Tyrone Tracy, he's good. He's the RB1. No, right now that's Cam Scatterbo. He is way more explosive, and he gives you another guy who can make a play with the ball in his hands. And overall, the offense looks like a modern NFL offense. The way they move the ball, they showed life. I know a lot of Giant fans, there was a lot of talk during that Sunday night game between Baltimore and Buffalo, where we were watching those teams move the ball and we were getting jealous because, like, wow, they make it look so easy. And we're stuck in like the 40s with our offense. Like, there's no explosiveness. And then this week, they arguably had the most explosive offense in the league with the deep balls and the big plays. Like, I saw more chunk plays in that one game than I've seen in the last 3 years. And a lot of that is thanks in part to Russ. A lot of that is thanks in part to the receivers. And a lot of that is thanks in part to Marcus and Bo and the offensive line. And overall, the better they look with Russ, the transition to Jackson Dart will be that much smoother because there will be more confidence. There will be a better situation for Dart to come in and thrive. Because, like, Russ, and there's give and take here. I think once Dart comes in, the red zone offense will be much better because with Russ, and it's a really funny thing. The Giants should really start taking shots for the end zone once they're inside the 50. Because that is Russ's strength. He can throw the deep ball better than more than maybe 5 quarterbacks. Just the way the ball placement deep downfield is something I haven't seen out of a Giant quarterback since Eli Manning. But the way that he pushes the ball downfield is amazing. And that is something that is a real asset. But he can't throw the intermediate ball. He's not good at punching it in from close range. Long range, he's fine. But close up, he can't really do that. I think Dart, that as of right now, has a better chance of becoming a more efficient quarterback in the red zone because he's shown he has more arm talent in the short to intermediate game to where you can throw those seam routes to the tight end, or you can throw those posts to Malik Neighbors, or you can throw those little play action rollout flats to Cam Scatterbo. Like, there's like, once Dart comes in, if this offense keeps building on it, Jackson Dart will have so much more to work with than we thought he would have after last week. That's it for the positives for the Giants here. And there's a lot. And I know I listed off a bunch. On to the negatives. Shane Bowen. Soft zone with 20 seconds left against a team with all 3 timeouts. With the best kicker in the league, who is fully automatic from 60 or more yards, which is insane on its own. Like, let's just get that out of the way. Brandon Aubrey is the Terminator in the form of an NFL kicker. He was made in a lab. He has cybernetic legs. He is a freak of nature. I want to get that out of the way. Brandon Aubrey is a stud. Knowing that, when they need only 20 some odd yards to get into his range, why are you playing prevent? And this was the whole game too. And if you notice, every time the Giants pushed the envelope and got a little aggressive, they made Dak rush his throws. And sure, I know the four-man unit up front is good, and it should be better. And I'll say this, Sexy Dexy, been kind of a non-factor in the first couple weeks, and I'm giving him time. Believe me, I am giving him plenty of time. He is like we can. I'm not going to say we can afford it, but he's bought himself a bunch, and he's coming back from an elbow injury. And I'll give Dex some leeway because he deserves it. I still think he's the best nose tackle in football. He can still be a game changer, and I think you're going to see him become a game changer in the coming weeks. But you just no blitzes. Like you're rushing a four-man front with not your best four pass rushers on the field at the same time. And they got a third down sack in the red zone with Carter, Dex, Burns, and Thibodeau on the field at the same time. They got a sack on third down because you can't double all of them. And all of them have shown they can win matchups one-on-one, especially the edges, who have been superb to start this season. Kayvon Thibodeau especially. I mean, talk about unexpected. Playing with a little fire under there. He's got, there's reason to actually push. Because if you slip up, you've got a guy who's compared to Micah Parsons sitting right behind you, breathing down your neck, who is just begging to get the snaps that you're getting. And just Shane Bowen just completely mishandling this defense's strengths. If it weren't for him, the Giants would have won this game by at least 10 points. It's asinine, the defensive game plan. It's like, oh, we're trying to not give up the big play. But in not giving up the 30-yard play, you're giving up 15 yards twice the time. If you rush him and he puts one over the top, oh, well, he just made the play. This defense is not making the opposing quarterback and the opposing receivers make plays. It's giving them something for them to take. And you hear this all the time, taking what the defense gives you. Well, what the defense is giving all these other teams is 15-yard posts and comeback routes and flats and curls that you can catch and then run upfield for 10 more yards. You're not giving them 5-yard flats that are tackled immediately. You are giving them 5-yard flats with 10 yards of space in front of you, which the defensive back is going to take 5 yards to meet him, and which at that point he may not even tackle him. And you're basically just giving up a first down every play. That defense was inexcusable. And it's disgusting that we aren't talking about a culture-changing and narrative-shedding win. Because if the Giants won that game, they would have shot out of the basement. I think the narrative around the team would have been just shot right then and there. Because they would have gone into Dallas and they would have beaten their boogeymen in a place where they have not been able to beat them since Barack Obama was president. And instead, we're sitting here talking about another loss in Jerry World, feeding his ego and making him believe he's a better football mind than he actually is, which in that sense, we're doing the football world a service by feeding his ego. But as a Giants fan, it sucks. Another thing, no discipline. This falls on Brian Daboll. I mean, what are we doing? Dude, 21 penalties? Really? It's like the lack of discipline is insane. And sure, two of those roughing the passers were not, you can't justify calling that. I think there was one on Roy Robertson Harris, it was, where he shifted his weight over to the side, and it was right after Dak released the ball. And I've been saying this ever since they implemented those new rules. You can't just expect defensive linemen to disobey the laws of physics because that's what you're asking them to do. You're asking them to break the laws of physics in order to keep the quarterback safe. It's ridiculous. They also still can't stop the run. That's a big issue. And it's probably going to continue being an issue. This is something we might just have to wear all year. And you know what? If they improve in the other areas, then I can live with them not being able to stop the run because you can allocate resources and draft capital. So, like, you can draft a linebacker with your second round pick, and your run defense will get better. You can sign a linebacker or a nose tackle in free agency to make your run defense better, and you're basically guaranteeing a new defensive coordinator, if not by the middle of the season, definitely by the end. Although, no, Brian Dable, he's probably not going to have a chance to get a new defensive coordinator, and although we're not going to have those conversations until later, but going forward, this is the one real question I have about this offense. Was this just a product of Dallas's defense and the bad scheme by Matt Eberflus, or is this actually something to build on? And I think next week on Sunday Night Football is going to be, I think, the biggest test for this offense this year because you've shown you're capable of moving the ball. But is it just a product of the scheme you played against? Or can you actually do it against the team that's, let's face it, dude, the Chiefs, they're desperate. They're 0-2. First time since 2014 they started 0-2. We're talking about the Giants going every year over the last decade starting 0-2, but the Chiefs haven't done that since. And you know that you've got a chance. You've got a chance to be heroes. And I mean, there's blood in the water. Telling you, you want to change narratives, go be the team that delivers the knockout blow to the most insufferable, unlikable dynasty in NFL history. That'll be all for the Giants. On to the Jets here. This is going to be a lot shorter because there's not really that much to break down. There's no moral victories like last week. There's no talking about how, oh, Aaron Glenn had the boys fighting, or, oh, there was this, there was that. This was just a beating, just a bludgeoning in front of a packed MetLife Stadium crowd who has put up with a lot. And dude, just it's insane. It's just like I can't. I mean, you can again change the coach. I'm gonna paraphrase Joe Benigno here, but change the coach, change the jersey, change the personnel, dude. You're the Jets. You're the Jets until you aren't the Jets. And in this game, it was weird because when I was looking at the box score when I was doing research for this, doing my prep, I thought it was going to be Josh Allen throwing 3 tutties. No. They ran for 224 yards on a front seven that was billed as one of the most stout and strong in football. Are you kidding me? And honestly, the major concern, if you're worried about winning immediately, is Justin Fields. And to be honest, this is what a lot of us were expecting out of Justin Fields. He can't throw the football. This has been established. And for some reason, there are stragglers who are still just truthers of this guy who has proven nothing at this level. He's proven nothing but just inconsistency at best. He can't throw. Sure, he's athletic, but he can't move the football. Every offense that he's been in hasn't really worked. The only time where Justin Fields was playing winning football was on the Steelers last year. And that was in a system where he could have played autopilot, and that was a running primary offense. And sure, this is also a primarily rushing offense for the Jets, but when you're playing against the Bills, you can't do that. And with the Jets, this is just going to be another Jetsy season and just more stupid stuff from that stupid team. I don't know how Jet fans do it. It's like I sit here talking about the Giants and how miserable they make me. Dude, I really don't know how you guys do it. It is astounding to me how you guys can continuously watch this team year after year. Not only that, but like have kids and then make those kids watch and then make them suffer through the same cycle that you have. Shame on you. And shame on the New York Jets. All right, after this, we're going to cut to break here for a bit. We'll be back. We're going to be talking some baseball here, Yankees and Mets in pennant races. Back after this. All right. Interested in having your voice heard? Interested in hosting a show on WIUR? Email our president, Robbie Basil, or come by the station and we will help get you started. Have an announcement for a club or an event you would like to promote? Email President Robbie Basil or DM us on Instagram at WIUR_Gales Radio with your post or announcement concept. Interested in having an audio ad for WR or for WIUR sports broadcasting? DM us on Instagram at the handle I mentioned above with your concept or contact one of our e-board members who will help give out more information. All right, we're back. Woolly Mammoth Mondays. Now I got to get used to that name after freshman year, but Woolly Mammoth Mondays, we're back Monday, September 15th, 2025, 11:32 a.m. Talking about some baseball here. Going to be a little shorter than the football here, but still plenty to talk about here. Going to lead with the New York Yankees. Can't be mad about the way they've played lately. Just took a series at Fenway Park against the Red Sox. Won 3 out of their 4 series in this major test stretch, going 7-5 in the 12 games. And yeah, you look at the 7-5 over 12 games, you're like, yeah, that's what you needed to be to have a winning record. But when you consider the teams that they were playing and the tests that they were facing and the narrative about how they can't beat the good teams, a narrative that, believe me, I have pushed on all of the platforms that I have. Do not confuse this for belief that I have in this team. I still don't believe in them in the slightest. But the way they played recently, I am a little moved because you beat the Astros in Houston. You beat the Blue Jays at Yankee Stadium, a team who have been a boogeyman. Sure, you lose to the Tigers, but you don't get swept. And then you followed it up going into Fenway Park and beating the Red Sox. You were a game away from a sweep, but you lost the game that everybody thought you would lose, and that was just because Will Warren blew up in the first inning. Like Garrett Crochet striking out 12, that's just something that happens. But granted, that is still a major concern for the playoffs because right now, the Yankees and Red Sox are on a crash course for a wild card series against each other where you are going to see Garrett Crochet in that first game. And given how they hit against him, I mean, they didn't hit badly against him. They got 3 runs off him. In a game 1 situation, if you're going to get 3 runs off Garrett Crochet, you better pray that Max Fried is matching him or throwing just a gem. Which I will say he did pitch well, Max Fried. And, they took care of business. They did what they needed to do. They had big hits. The bullpen delivered. The starting pitching delivered. Rodon and Fried did what they had to do. They secured the wins that they knew they definitely had to secure if they wanted to win this series. Because, again, beating Crochet with Will Warren on the mound, that was a pipe dream to begin with. Like, sure, would it have been nice to get the sweep? Yeah, of course. Like, you're going to want to win more baseball games than not. But you can't really get mad. And they have a soft part of their schedule coming up soon where they have shown they can take care of business More than in past years. I'll give this Yankee team this. They have a way easier time against the bad teams, and they don't really play down. They play to the same level. Like, when they play against the good teams, yeah, sure, they've done terribly, but lately they played better, as I've said. But they've taken care of business against the bad teams. They continue to play at the level they should be playing at against the bad teams. And in this stretch where you've got, let's have a look here. Let's have a look here. I got ESPN open right here. Let's look at the Yankees schedule real quick. Just gonna pull this up. Apologize for the delay. You've got 3 at Minnesota, 4 in Baltimore, which I know the AL East teams, that's another boogeyman you gotta take care of. You got, again, 3 in Minnesota, 4 in Baltimore, 3 in the Bronx against the White Sox, and then 3 at Yankee Stadium against the Orioles. Again, you have this is the stretch. That's what it's gotta be. Tonight against the Twins, it's Carlos Rodon against Simeon Woods Richardson. I think that's how you pronounce his first name, Simeon. Whatever. I don't really follow the Twins. Dude, no, who cares about the Twins? Let's be for real. Then you got Cam Schlittler against Zebby Matthews. And then you've got Luis Heel against Taj Bradley, who, yeesh, yeah, he's killed the Yankees a lot. But this is a series that if you want to win the division, which that looks like a pipe dream at this point. 4 games, the way Toronto's playing, just the magic that they have working with. The division's a pipe dream. But if you want to have that 3-game set against the Red Sox be at Yankee Stadium, you gotta take at least 6 of 7 here. And I said the number. Yep. 6 of 7. 6, 7. Yep, I said the number. You gotta take at least 6 of 7 here, and then you gotta. This is a stretch where realistically you maybe should be looking at least 8 out of 10 that you gotta win here. If you take the summer off, and you gotta ramp up in September. If you want to be taken seriously as a contender, you gotta just bulldoze these guys. Because these are all teams who are terrible. You have the Twins, they're terrible. The Orioles, they're terrible. The White Sox, they're terrible. You have to. Just run over these guys. And roll up some momentum. Pick up a little speed going into the playoffs. And we've seen this plenty of times. If you have momentum going into the playoffs, it's hard to slow down, especially if you have that wild card series. You don't have that layoff to cool down. It pays dividends. It definitely pays a ton of dividends. Anyways, Aaron Judge, I want to give a quick shout out to him, and I know I've been very hard on him, like in the last 2 years after the playoffs last year. And this year, I was like, blow your nose with the stats. I need to see it in the big games. And he was failing in those big games for a lot of the year. He was not doing well. But in these last 4 series, which was a prove it stretch for the Yankees, Aaron Judge slashed 350, 500, 725 for a 1.225 OPS and a 232 WRC plus with 5 home runs sprinkled in there, passing both Yogi Berra and Joe DiMaggio on the all-time home run list for the New York Yankees. And he answered. If this is the Judge that we're getting in October, then I feel a lot better about the Yankees' chances at going back to the World Series and maybe winning it this time. Because this is a deep lineup. You've got the supporting cast. You've got Grisham, Bellinger, Rice, Stanton, Jazz, Goldschmidt, Caballero now, who's been a revelation at shortstop. Anthony Volpe should never start for this team again. I just want to make that crystal clear. Anthony Volpe should never start on this team. Ever, 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 ever. Out of the question. Jose Caballero has been that much of a difference at shortstop. And if you look at him, dude, he's a pest. The Yankees haven't had a pest like that. To just somebody who's such a pain in the you know what to deal with whenever he gets on base and making good plays at multiple defensive positions. That is the type of guy that the Yankees have been missing. Just somebody who's, it's like, yeah, the Yankees, they have, like, they're good. They've had good teams on paper, but not particularly hard to play against. Jose Caballero is insanely difficult to play against because when he's at the plate, you've got to be careful about if you let him on or not because you can't do that. You can't let him on base because if he gets on base, if you walk him or if he dribbles one through for a single with his speed and his affinity for stealing bases, a single turns into a double. And that double could very well turn into a triple. So his slugging percentage, if you factor in the bases that he takes from stealing, his slugging percentage could realistically be 100 points higher because of the extra element that his speed adds. In regards to the bullpen, I mean, I've heard a lot of talk about Devin Williams. I mean, if he gets hot now, sure, I'll take it. But I still don't believe in him. This is still Devin Williams we're talking about in a Yankee uniform. But if he puts together scoreless outings here, if he gets hot, then his stuff is good enough and he has enough of a track record to where you maybe can trust him. But I'm still not very inclined to do that. Actually, I'm not at all inclined to do that. But given the lack of depth, if you have a guy who's hot, who has the stuff and the track record, you got to give it to him. You have no choice. Because really, what are you getting out of Camilo Doval? He was supposed to be the setup man, and now you're afraid to bring him in the sixth. But David Bednar, God bless him, dude. David Bednar, he's been amazing. I mean, Fernando Cruz has been an issue. Maybe they rushed him back a little too quick from injury. That's not going to be fun to figure out. But again, Yankees, big stretch coming up here for the Bombers. Trying to get that momentum going into October. As for their crosstown rivals, the Mets. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. This season is going to end one of two ways. I don't think there's any in between here. You're either getting a deep playoff run and you are forgetting that this horrible 3-month stretch ever happened, or you are ending in quite possibly the most humiliating disaster in the history of a franchise that has really just been nothing but one humiliating disaster. Because if they, God forbid, they miss the playoffs. Well, okay, even if they make it there, if they just get smacked in the wild card, that's still terrible. That's still not at all where you expected them to be. That's not all where you wanted them to be. But if you follow up last year, a spirited run to the NLCS where you showed that you've got winners, and there's still a part of me that believes in that thinks, hey, they just got to get there. They've got guys who elevate their game in the big moments. You got guys like Pete, Soto, Lindor, Nimmo, guys who have elevated themselves, or Vientos, maybe the biggest example of a big game riser. You've got plenty of guys who show up in the big moments. And there is a part of me that still thinks, hey, just get there and they'll cook. But the last few months, they've been one of the worst teams in baseball. I think I read somewhere since like June, they have the third worst record in baseball. I think the White Sox have a better record than them in that time period. If they continue to spiral here, and yes, getting that win yesterday, Pete walking off the Rangers, that was big. Any win that you get in this stretch to help stave off this disaster is big. But if you follow that up with another like 1-4 stretch, that means nothing because then it's just right back to your regular programming of lol Mets. And I thought that phrase was dead. I thought we were done saying lol Mets because, and here's another thing, and here's the biggest thing for me. This offseason, you go out and you sign Juan Soto. You essentially fire a warning shot across not only New York, but the entirety of Major League Baseball. It's like, hey, we're the big act. We're the boss now. We're going to take the player. We're going to take a player who just had a career year on the most storied franchise in sports that is arguably more financially loaded than anybody else and has the pedigree and the aura to draw in a guy like Juan Soto. And we're going to say, nope, we're just going to rip him right from you. And you basically made a territory play in New York, a territory that has been controlled by the same team for the last century and change at that. If you follow that up by making that kind of statement for what you are going to be, and then you follow that up by doing this, it's not gonna lie, it's probably the worst season considering the expectations of anyone in baseball. Because you came in with all this hype. You came in saying, "Hey, we got Juan Soto. We're the big act in town. We run this town. We run this city. We run baseball." And then you go and do this? If you miss the playoffs, the way they're playing, they're in danger of finishing below 500 if they keep this up. But if they keep doing this, first of all, Carlos Mendoza is a dead man walking if they miss the playoffs. No, there is no way you can justify bringing him back. Because, and if you look at the culture on this team, it feels like there's no urgency. It feels like there's not enough hatred of losing in that clubhouse. Because again, I follow like SMY on Twitter. I keep tabs on the Mets, even though I'm not a fan. I see like SMY post photos of the dugout of Francisco Lindor and Brandon Nimmo and Pete Alonso just smiling, just cheesing. And if I'm a Mets fan and I am watching them do what they've done and collapse and bottom out in a year that was supposed to be them taking over the town that they've desperately wanted to take over for the entire time that they've existed, I would be volcanic if I was a Mets fan seeing the vibes. Sure, in previous years, you could sell Mets fans on vibes. You can't get away with vibes anymore. You need results. You need winning. And I know the Mets, they're not used to that. Oh, we're not used to this. You're a Yankee fan. You're spoiled. You have these standards. You have the standards now. It may not sink in right now, but it's going to. And once it does sink in, all those smiles, you better hope they fade away. And I know I sound like Frank the Tank Fleming right now, but it's true. When you're losing like this and you see guys just cheesing and smiling and having a hunky-dory good old time, I'd be pissed. I would hate to see that. That is the last thing I want to see out of the clubhouse of a collapsing baseball team. See, it's like if it was the middle of the summer and I was seeing the Yankees do stuff like that, if I saw Yes post a photo of like Anthony Volpe and Austin Mulls, like showing their pearly whites in a selfie, I would have, first of all, I wouldn't have a TV anymore. I'd tell you that much. Something would have gotten broken if I saw that out of the Yankees this year. And with the Mets, if you keep selling us on vibes, you can't do that anymore. You just can't. You need results. And this year, you're not getting them. And if you don't get them this year, then, oh boy, there's going to be a lot Good. It's the autopsy on this is gonna be something. Oh man. Anyways, that'll be all for me today. Thank you for anybody who have tuned in. I unfortunately didn't have chat open. So if I did miss anything, I'm sorry. But I'll make sure to be active more there next week. But, anyways, this has been Woolly Mammoth Wednesdays. It's been my pleasure keeping you company over the next hour, or the last hour, rather. But, anyways, this has been Woolly Mammoth Wednesdays from the studios at WIUR. I am Cam Woolley saying so long and have a good one.